joining us for this virtual press conference. This morning we have a two-part presentation. First, Chief of Police Johnny Jennings is going to provide an update on the implementation of this strategic vision for the police department. And I would ask at that time, at the end of his presentation, that any questions that we have for the chief, that we direct those to him at that time. The second part of the presentation, we're going to have Captain Brian Troll of the Westover Patrol Division come up and discuss some outstanding crime management work that we have going on there in response to a series of commercial break-ins. So with that, Chief.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant Fishback. Appreciate everyone joining us today. And just to start out, following my swearing in back in July of last year, I outlined a specific vision for the success of our department. I also promised the community that I would keep them updated on the progress and the execution of that vision. All the visions we talk about, visions look great. They look great on paper, but unless you have a strategy to deliver those visions, then they're useless. So what I've done and what we've done as a department, it takes a whole lot of work, and I think we've made some great progress over the past several months, but not only by CMPD employees, but also by the community members who are assisting us in carrying out a strategy that will improve our department and public safety. I'm excited to launch the new strategic direction for the department. The work we've done recently includes developing a new mission statement, structuring my core 4 strategic priorities of community collaboration, crime management, professional accountability, and employee wellness. Some of the important work that we accomplished recently was updating the department's mission statement. It's hard to believe we look at our mission statement, and as we started to review that, the mission statement hasn't changed since 1994. A great deal has happened and changed in policing over the past quarter of a century. So updating our mission statement, I truly believe, was well overdue. It's the only way that we can ensure that our service reflects today's environment, culture, and community expectations. CMPD's updated mission statement now reads, "The CMPD implements solutions and expands collaborative relationships with our organization and community to enhance trust, fairness, and respect to increase public safety." Now, those aren't just words that we just came up with arbitrarily, that we decided this sounds good. Those are things that are going to drive our organization to achieve success and allow us to deliver on the core 4 priorities that we've established. I want to provide some updates on the core 4 priorities that we've talked about and you've heard for the past several months. When we talk about crime management, we're currently developing a strategy that will allow us to be intentional concerning who and where we are putting our resources. Violent crime reduction is a priority, and one of the critical elements of reducing violent crime is examining the conditions that drive it. We are developing relationships with other agencies, both public and private, and I'm encouraged at the direction that we're going in and the input that we've received to this point. Moving on to community collaboration, which has always been at the forefront of what CMPD does, we have a rich history of working with the community and working together with the community, so I'm excited to expand on that. I always believe that we can do more. Last month, we launched the department's core stat, which many of you have seen. This is an opportunity where community members are invited to participate in our crime management strategy meetings and also to provide input on what is important to them in their neighborhoods, whether it's policy updates, the allocation of resources and staffing, and other crime management strategies that they would like to see CMPD implement as well. So the community has a say in how they are being served and how the police are serving their communities. And I think the core stat is one of many ways that we are looking at to be able to accomplish that goal as well. Professional accountability, we've adopted an internal-driven philosophy to improve ourselves, the department, and the outcomes that we have with our community. The only way we're going to achieve success is by adopting a customer service mindset. we recently began a workshop run by one of the most highly regarded customer service experts in not just in the country, but also internationally. I've just been excited and very optimistic working with this individual and his company and the direction that we're heading as a department. So this is going to be a really good change of culture and mentality that we're striving for when it comes to customer service within our agency. And no less impressive than the work being done involves the employee wellness. Over the last several months, both civilians and sworn members of the department have developed strategies to support better physical and mental health at work for all CMPD employees. Our goal is to normalize conversations that are related around employee wellness. Also, to cultivate work-life balances and provide our employees with resources they need to carry out their responsibilities effectively. I know it's only been a few months. There's still a lot of work to do. This is something that we intend on moving quickly, and I think we have been moving quickly. It's exciting to me to see how our employees within our agency are taking all this in and moving forward and adopting that core 4 mission and also that customer service mentality, not just externally, but also internally. So with that, that's all I have. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to entertain that at this time.
Anybody ready?
All right. Thank you.
Page.
Yeah. Okay. Paige with WBTV.
Hey, Chief Jennings, thought I'd ask a question here while we have you. You talked about some of those partnerships with both public and private partnerships for violent crime reduction. Can you give us a little more details about how those partnerships are going, who those partnerships are with, and kind of what these communities can look for coming in the future?
Yeah, so a lot of the partnerships, specifically privately, I won't get into at this point, but I'm sure that as we get ready to launch those, that those will be known and probably publicized out there for the general public. But the way that works is a lot of initiatives that I want to look at, in particular, you look at alternatives to arrest. It involves money and it involves resources that we don't necessarily have in our budget to be able to do. So we have some great partners, some great companies within the city who have started conversations with us to step up to actually fund some of these initiatives that I'm looking at, particularly with the alternative solutions to arrest. So we're working diligently with that. And then, of course, other partnerships working directly with the district attorney and other agencies with the sheriff's office, magistrate's office. There are just things that we have to make sure that we're doing together to ensure that we're doing the right thing and going in the right direction when it comes to alternative crime solutions.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah.
Hi, Chief Jennings. Thanks so much for taking our questions this morning. Since we have you, I wanted to ask, I know this wasn't exactly what your presentation was about this morning, but is there any update on the Beatties Ford Road shooting from last June? We haven't heard about that in a while, so I just figured I'd ask since we have you.
No, that's fine. I appreciate that. I can tell you a lot of work has been and it continues to be done with that investigation. We have since had a great deal of community support that comes forward, but as you know, the outcome of that is to establish probable cause so that we can make those arrests. So we have instilled some work with our federal partners as well on that case. So we're not ready to announce any closures of that, but I do want to ensure the community, particularly the Beatties Ford Road area, that work is continuing. It's not as out front as it was when it occurred, but our detectives have been doing some fantastic work in piecing all this together. The ultimate goal is to have some closure to this, and we're going to continue to fight for that. Amanda?
Hey, good morning. I was wondering, what are some alternatives to arrest that officers can do in the future, and sort of what's preventing that from happening right now?
Well, we have when you talk about alternatives, it's much like if you're aware of our juvenile diversion program, we have options that officers don't necessarily have to put juveniles into the system. That we have alternatives for them to have training, to go through several courses and classes that will allow them to get steered to the right path. Well, the objective here is to move that up to higher ages, that we can provide someone so they're not getting into that cycle of the criminal justice system. If we can get a low-level offender and provide classes for them that can help them to become productive citizens in their communities, and then not just that, give them on-the-job training, some skills that they can develop, and for the future outcome to be ultimately to have them employed and being successful members of their community. So that's the ultimate goal. And we're talking about low-level offenders that we were able to keep out of that cycle. So if that's the plan, those are things that we're looking at. There are have been over the years a lot of programs that involve individuals when they get out of jail, things that they can do prior to once they're in the system. And we're looking at different ways to be able to tackle that and to be able to add to that as well. Amanda?
I have a follow-up question. I'm just looking to learn more about this. I don't know much about it in the moment, but I've heard that officers can issue citations instead of making arrests for misdemeanors. Can you sort of tell us more about how that works and just some clarification on that?
Yeah, so we always allow officers have discretion as far as arrests are concerned, citations are concerned. So those are options that officers have for minor offenses, particularly the misdemeanor offenses that if people, a lot of people don't understand that it takes several hours, it can take several hours at times if you make an arrest and by the time you process someone that you've arrested and take them to the jail and process them and go through the magistrate's office, that can take up a great deal of time with an officer's shift. So the alternative writing citation, you're looking at a difference between hours involved with this individual or a matter of minutes to be able to write a citation. There are some things that we don't want, officers writing citations for, particularly when it deals with guns and drugs. But there are many things that we have options, and the officers are aware that's a tool in their pocket that they can use for some of those minor offenses.
And can you share any statistics on how frequently officers write citations instead of making arrests?
I don't have that in front of me, but we certainly can provide that. That's very easy to get. We'll get that to you. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And at this point, we're going to bring up Captain Brian Troll of the Westover Patrol Division. Captain.
Thank you, Lieutenant Fishback. Like the Lieutenant mentioned, I wanted to highlight some excellent work being done in the Westover Division by the officers and detectives over the past week to address and combat a commercial break-in and entering series we were dealing with. The early morning hours, Saturday night, Sunday morning, we ended up with approximately 5 commercial burglaries in a close proximity, close location to each other, appeared to be related based on the type of entry that was made, the items that were targeted. The sergeants and officers the following night made it a point to be in that area based on the prior night's activity. They received 3 separate alarm calls around Woodlawn Road, around the 200 block of Woodlawn Road. The officers and sergeant responded, were able to communicate with the alarm companies, the victim, and locate a suspect a short distance from one of the businesses, detain him, and one of the victims was able to possibly identify him as the suspect that broke into his business. We then called in one of our division detectives who spent time both at the scene and interviewing the suspect. Based off of that interview, they were able to clear 3 incidents that night. They also applied for and completed a search warrant at the suspect's hotel room. And then over the following day, went back to look at all the open cases, and based on their investigation, the evidence seized from the search warrant, the surveillance videos, they've been able to charge this suspect with 11 cases, including all of the ones involved in this weekend's spree. The suspect is in custody right now, and we are not currently looking into any other burglary cases. But this was great work done by the officers and detectives, noticing a trend, addressing it, and then great teamwork and follow-up to put all the pieces together to clear out these 11 cases. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Some great work going on out there. For our partners with the medium, that is Captain Brian Troll. Spelling of his last name is Trull. And before we depart this morning, any other questions that I can answer? Okay. Thank you for joining us this morning, and we look forward to seeing you next week.